And we are back for another edition of the El Rock and Dermo show. I am El Rock, joined by Dermo. So Dermo, how you doing today?
Good, man. How's it going?
Not bad, not bad. So All-Star break's over. We're at the Mad Dash here. Islanders had a big win against Toronto the other night, 3-2. What were your thoughts overall on and how they looked that game?
Yeah, no, they looked pretty solid. It was nice that you could definitely tell with Sorokin, he looked well rested. I mean, he was making saves that he usually made like the last few years that you really didn't see much so far.
Yeah.
So, and then listen, getting Pulak and Pellick back is like Christmas.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That was tremendous, especially Ryan Pollock, because he's been out really for a long time, since early December after he blocked that shot against
Yep.
Columbus. And I thought he looked really good. There was one play in particular he rode Bertuzzi hard into the boards, kind of rubbed him out of the
Behind
play.
behind the net, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the type of stuff that they've been missing. And I
Yeah.
think people don't remember last year against the Hurricanes. He was probably one of the Islanders' best players in that series. So
Yeah.
he's a very integral part of the team, and having him back is like a deadline acquisition. Really, I mean he's back in the lineup, and hopefully him and Pellick can start to regain some of their form and go for that. That would be a big help for the Islanders going forward.
Yeah. I think I understand why Barry did that a couple years ago to break them up, Pellick and Pulak. Um, they're so good defensively that it's like, well, you know what? Maybe we put one on each line. It kind of shores us up on two lines then.
Yeah,
But those two just
yeah,
play so well together. They really do. They are. And I know I'm being biased because I'm an Islander fan, but I even would think some Ranger fans would agree with me that like they're solid back there. They would be like Girardi and Stahl back when they were on their cup run. Like that.
yeah. No,
They're
definitely. I
solid.
mean, they
Yeah.
during those two conference final trips, they emerged as one of the best shutdown pairs in the league, if not the
Yeah.
best. So,
Yep.
if they could get back to playing that style of hockey, that's going to be big. But, back to the game, I thought it was interesting because, when Toronto tied the game with Tavares' deflection, I feel like under Lane Lambert, that's a game that maybe they go on to lose. And I like the
Yeah.
fact that they responded, like 2 minutes after that goal, Engvall
Yeah.
responded and netted the game winner. So that was huge. And, hopefully that goal can kind of get Engvall a little bit of a role here because, as we discussed, he's been quite disappointing. But
Yeah.
that was a big goal and a big moment. And the former Maple Leaf, I know a lot of their fans that made it even worse that it was all people. It was Engvall that scored the goal, but that was a huge 2 points for the Islanders for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You know what? As far as like Tavares, tying the game, yeah, I would say so with that, with the Lambert thing, because yeah, there was no life with it. Like under Barry, there was life.
No,
Like it's like, all right, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Like we'll take care of it. And then now,
yeah,
obviously, with Patty Waugh, it's like, it's good that they're responding. And I tell you what, I said this last show. I like Lane Lambert. I just don't think he's an NHL coach, meaning a head coach. I think he's a perfect assistant.
no,
He's good with the penalty kill, that stuff. But some
yeah,
guys just the decision make it.
yeah. And you know what? I think too. What goes into it with Watt is that he truly is a new voice. He's because Lane Lambert, let's face it, he was an extension of Barry Trotz. I mean, he was his assistant every stop he was. So
Yeah,
it was a
yeah,
similar voice they've had for a long time. Watt's a new voice, and I think the
yeah,
players are responding to it. And you got to remember, it takes a while for a coach to come in and change things around. So I don't I don't think you're going to truly see what this team can be for at least another week or so once they really settle in under Waugh. But
yeah.
overall, I thought they played a great game against Toronto. There were some defensive lapses at certain times, but against a
Well,
team that
that's
can
always gonna
generate so much
happen.
offense, yeah, that's to be expected. But I do think that Barzell is one of the best players on the ice again. He's keeping the momentum he had before the All Star break. Um, and what I really liked was Bo Horvat sticking up for him and dropping the
Yeah,
gloves. That was
yep.
great. That was absolutely great to see.
I'll tell you what, Bo
And that's
really
where that
settled in
that
here.
Patrick Roy happened.
Yeah,
What's up?
I said Bo's really settled in nice here.
No, definitely. He's been a great addition. There's no doubt that they won that trade. But going forward here, we have the Flames, the Lightning coming up. on
Yep.
Thursday, and then the Flames on
Yep.
Saturday.
And then the
So
Kraken. Yeah.
I think
Yep.
yeah. So these next couple of games are going to be crucial for the because you got to remember winning one game it's and then just losing the next two is not going to do anything. So it was nice that they got the win against Toronto.
Yep.
They need to keep the momentum going here. And again, because the Flyers won last night, so they're still 4 points behind the Flyers, which is where we were last week when we debuted our show. But we have made ground on the Red Wings, yeah, which they're on their bye week, so they're only 4 points behind the Red Wings and the Maple Leafs, for that matter, for the last two wild card spots. So certainly important points here, and I think we're getting back to full health. It seems like Casey Zizekas is going to be ready. Is going to be ready to play tomorrow. So
Yeah, because
he'll
they got
come
McLean
off
as an extra.
LTIR.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're gonna have to send McLean down though, because once they activate Zizekas from LTIR, they're going to be
Yeah.
a little over the cap. So McLean will likely go down. I mean, barring them putting Fashing on LTIR just to keep McLean a little longer, I guess they could do that. But but you got to. What's good though is once they are officially not using LTIR anymore, they'll actually be able to start accruing cap space. So come the trade deadline, they'll have like around $1 million to work with. Once they're not
Without moving a
using
contract.
LTIR anymore. Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
getting healthy and hopefully going to hit their stride at the right time here. And Alexander is right in this comment right here. McLean has been a bright spot. I like him. I like
Yeah.
McLean too. I think McLean has played well. Just unfortunately, right now it's a numbers game at center ice. He's not. When everyone's healthy, he's not playing over anybody
Yeah, but
at the
like
center position, at least.
like I said though, you know what? McLean playing well might open the door to a Pajot trade probably in the offseason, because then you could just move Casey up
Yeah,
and you get some cap space. So there,
you could.
again, like your fourth line center, you obviously don't expect too much out of him, but like he
Yeah.
has been pretty solid, so that's good. Yeah, you
But
know.
that was a nice goal he had for his first goal. He
Yeah,
froze Samson off and just he made him look silly. So
yeah,
that was certainly a good goal, and I'm sure proud dad moment with John McClain behind the bench
yeah,
witnessing it. But yeah,
yeah,
I like his game. He plays. He's not slow. He plays with pace. He's physical. I certainly think that he's a guy that could as early as next season be the fourth line center.
yeah. I agree with that. Yeah,
I will not be at the game tomorrow. However, next week, Dermo and I will be playing in the Spitfire Classic at UBS Arena
yeah.
after
There
the Islander game.
we
So
go.
that'll be fun.
Yep, yep.
Um, so this Dermo. We've kind of talked about this. Alexander's asking, do you think we could try and move Pajot? My thoughts are lose. Lou wants to make the playoffs. I think subtracting from the roster right now by moving Pajot, I don't think he
Yeah.
has any appetite for it. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. I think if it was something that I think he would move Pat. Well, first of all, because I checked, Pajot's got a modified trade clause. I think it's either 12 or 16 teams that he can't go to, or at least
Yeah.
you have to ask him on. I think I could see him possibly making a move with Pajot, but it would have to be like an elite player. Like, let's just say, for instance, that like Jake Gensel, and I'm again like Penguins aren't going to want Pajot because they're going to want to get younger. But let's just say a player
Yeah.
like that, then I could see Lou
Yep.
maybe doing it to upgrade, to get two legit top lines and then two, workhorse lines. Then maybe, but yeah, like you said, Tony, I think it's gonna be like a draft day kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense because again,
Yeah,
Tarasenko. I'm saying that because he's in a comment right here. Pajot, it doesn't really make sense to move him in season. He's a good third line center. He's good on faceoffs. So I don't really see that happening during the year. But speaking of Tarasenko, Christie's saying, is there any significance of Tarasenko switching agents once again, especially mid-season? Is this trade related? I don't know. Dermo, I haven't scrolled. I'm trying to scroll Twitter right now. I haven't heard
I haven't.
anything. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
here
I
it
haven't
is.
heard.
1 minute.
About
One.
that.
Yeah, 1 minute ago, Pierre LeBrun. Vladimir Tarasenko has switched agents for the second time in 7 months. Now repped by Craig Oster of Newport Sports. Um, so yeah, that's interesting. I mean, typically you don't see a guy switch agents twice, and that that short amount of time. So yeah, it could, it certainly could be trade related for sure.
I think part of the issue with Tarasenko, and I think this is coming from his end. Guys are very
Yeah,
fearful that his shoulder's going to be bum out again, and they don't want to give him this
yeah,
3-4 year deal. I don't think the money's the issue with him because he's still going to get you 50, 60 points. I think realistically, he's probably looking for like a 4 year deal at 5 million per, 5-6 million per, which
yeah.
isn't
I agree
bad.
with that.
The problem is if he gets hurt now you're stuck with this contract for the next few years, and teams don't want to take
Yep.
that chance right now. You know, um,
Yeah.
when I look at Tarasenko, I look at teams like Ottawa, I look at teams like Arizona to take on that contract. You know,
Well,
like
he's on
a few
Ottawa.
year deal. No. But I'm saying like for this offseason because he's going to be a free agent again. Like,
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't see like teams in the hunt taking a run at him because I know they said Carolina last offseason, but Carolina's got they have too many issues as far as cap space right now, so they don't really have, you know. But I
Yeah,
mean,
I think Carolina is a team that I think would be interested in Tarasenko, but Tarasenko has been linked to the Islanders, dating back to when he first X'd out of St. Louis. So I mean,
yeah,
I certainly could see him ending up on the Islanders. I get Christie's comment because the same agent represents JG Pajot from the Islanders. They share the same agent. Newport Sports Agency in general represents a lot of
okay,
Islanders. So I don't think that means anything. But I do think there's a very good chance that if he's dealt, the Islanders are certainly in the mix. Uh, I think they're gonna. I think the Senators will retain salary on it. And Dermo, what makes so much sense is Wahlstrom. Send Wahlstrom in the
yeah,
deal. I mean,
yeah,
Ottawa would probably have interest in a younger forward, not making much money.
yeah,
It seems like a fair deal for both sides. Tarasenko, 50% retained for Oliver Wahlstrom. Um, I mean, I think that's a deal that seems realistic. So,
yeah.
but
I think
then again,
well, and not only that, I think they made it a point the last couple days, like we're gonna give Wallstrom a chance to play here. And now out of nowhere, you're gonna give this guy a chance to play. I understand it's a new coach, but they're definitely showing him that's what they're up to. I don't think
yeah,
he sticks around long
I
term.
don't buy any. I think, yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's a showcase.
yeah,
I don't really believe that because let's face it. I mean, yeah, maybe Patrick Waugh hasn't seen enough of him, but I mean, Lou Lamoriello has seen enough of Oliver Wahlstrom by now to know who he is.
yes,
So
yep,
I don't think it's a case of where Lou all of a sudden needs to see Wahlstrom play a lot to determine whether or not he'll be moved. So we'll see what happens with that. But I do think it's quite interesting that Tarasenko once again switched agents. I mean, that's to do it once is one thing, but to do it again certainly makes you raise an eyebrow. But
yeah.
he's having a good year though for
What's he
a
at? Like
Senators
35,
team that's
40 points,
struggling.
right? What's he at point
Yeah,
wise?
I don't know if it's that high, but I think he has at least 11 goals.
All right,
Let me look
well,
that
he's
up
got
quick.
double the
But
amount as Envol, so I'll take him. I'll pick him up at
yeah,
LaGuardia.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. So he's got 13 goals and 33 points. So not
okay. But
certainly
hear me
certainly
out.
not
Hear me
bad.
out. Wouldn't you agree with this that if you moved Envol down to the third line and put like a Tarasenko in that spot, that Envol, Pajot, and Holmstrom would be a great shutdown line. They're all fast. They all forecheck
Yeah, I
pretty
do.
hard. It's perfect.
Yeah,
Like, and I really believe that.
yeah, yeah. Because Engvall has even in the short sample size last year after they traded for him. Yes, I'll admit he looked good in that second line, but he's kind of reverted to the means. And right now, I don't. He's not a top six player. He's not a guy that
No.
you put on your second line. He fits in on the third line. So I think if you could acquire a guy like Vladimir Tarasenko, put him on the second line, bump down Engvall, then I think that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Now Christie's asking. Also, do you envision Andrews Lee finishing out the duration of his contract?
Maybe.
I mean, that's a tough one. He's the captain.
Well,
I do think
it's only
he's
2 more years after this.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if they really ran into some cap issues, maybe they would consider a buyout. But then again, think about this. Lou hasn't in Lou's tenure on the Islanders, he hasn't bought out a single player.
Yeah.
So I don't. That's not really Lou's MO to buy out guys,
Yeah.
especially. especially the captain. I mean, I think Lou has a great respect for Anders Lee, and um, I don't I don't see him doing that. I don't.
I think we kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into when they signed that deal to begin with. And again, like
Yep.
I don't fault Lou for the deal. Like I remember watching the NHL Network that day, and I'm like, it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and like Tavares is in Toronto already, and like they haven't signed
Yep.
anybody, and I'm like, oh no, it wasn't Tavares. No, it was the year after. It was when Panarin. We thought we were gonna get Panarin, and he went to the Rangers.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, and they haven't signed anybody. I'm like, you're gonna let everybody go right now? We just made the
Yeah.
playoffs. Like,
Yeah.
what are we
Yeah.
doing? And then like you see on the
Yeah.
screens like Anders League 7x7, and I'm like, oh, all right, it is what it is. Like you know,
Yeah.
he's
You
not a
know,
bad
I
player.
think a lot of that.
He's not a bad player. He's just slow. At this point, that's my only issue I have with him. He's just slow. You know?
Yeah, and honestly, he had a terrible start. But considering that, I think he's rebounded nicely. He has what 13 goals on the year, so he's
Yeah,
gonna
figure he gets
he's
to
gonna
20.
reach. He's gonna get 20 again. I mean, granted, that's a drop
Yeah.
for him, but he's still reaching 20 goals. But I mean, yeah, typically you want more out of a guy that's making $7 million a year. But I mean, it really is what it is at this point. Um,
Yeah.
I do
I mean,
I do want to point
it could
out.
be, it could be,
No, go ahead.
Huberto, $10 million. So we could have that. So
Oh, you forgot about that. Yeah,
yeah,
that would be a total disaster. Uh,
yeah,
but Dermo, last week after our show, later on that night, the Canucks traded for Elias Lindholm. A couple days ago, Sean Monahan was traded to the Winnipeg Jets. So, as we sit about 4 weeks away from the deadline, almost to the day, action's starting to pick up. So, with that said, when do you envision Lou making a move? Do you think it will be, a week from now? Do you think he'll do it at the deadline? When do you think he strikes and makes a move here as we're 4 weeks away from the
uh,
trade deadline?
well, on a side note, I just want to tell you, because I told you this the other day, the Montreal GM is a genius, because the guy got 2 first-round picks for Sean Monahan. So just
Yes,
throwing it out
he
there.
did. He did. Yep.
But I have that feeling it's going to be like a deadline day thing. I think Patty wants
Deadline.
to see what
Okay.
he's got. Listen, if something like a
Yep.
Tarasenko came across Lou's desk and was like,
Yeah.
maybe, but I think they want to see what they have right now. You know?
Yeah, and that's certainly possible. And the thought of thinking that is, let's see if we make any ground on some of these teams before we make a move. But you could say on the flip side, they trail Philly by 4 points, they trail Toronto and Detroit by 4 points. So you could have the school of thought of, well, let's make a move now to help us get someone early ahead of time, and really make up ground and catch these teams. So it can go either way. Historically, if you look at his body of work, Bo Horvat came, a little more than a month out. Kyle Palmieri trade was a couple of days before. So, he's kind of, for the most part, he's done a lot of his work before the deadline. So we'll see what he decides to do this year. But, I do think from what I hear, he's got a lot of, irons in the fire here. I think he's looking for a forward more so than a defenseman now that Ryan Pollock's back. And, you already have Aho and Bolduc as the odd man out. So I think forward is going to be where you see him add. And it seems to me, Dermo, the Rangers and Islanders are in competition for Frank Vatrano. I think both
Yeah.
teams are highly interested in him. And it'll be
He
interesting
looked
to
good in
see
that
where he
All-Star
lands.
game.
He did. He's got a good shot. He's got a
Yeah.
good shot, good release. Given the choice, I think I'm taking Vatrano over Tarasenko just because of age, and Vatrano signed for another year at a decent cap hit. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts? Who would you rather see,
Well, at
Vatrano or
this,
Tarasenko if you had to choose?
no, I like him because I watched him in that All-Star game, and I was like, you know what it is? I hate I hate seeing guys that are late bloomers, and he's a late bloomer. And
Yep.
then it's like you're rolling the dice because at any point they could just drop off, and it's like I knew it. But yeah, watch, and I understand it's an All-Star game, it's 3-on-3, and it's a free for all, but yeah, he looked good, and I think he would look really good on with Palmieri and Brock Nelson, so you know.
Yeah.
And you
Yep.
know what? He's a
And
grinder
Rain.
too, and he's a grinder. Like he plays
Yeah.
he plays the 200-foot game, which I like. So I think he'd be a good ad. He's not a bad cap hit, So
I mean, you could probably get the Ducks to retain on him, even though he's got a year left. I think that's certainly possible, and
yeah,
make it more plottable for them.
yeah. I don't know if they would
I-
do it because but
Adam Henrique is another option. I think if I had to pick, I would say he's more likely to end up on the Rangers, but it's certainly another guy that Lou's familiar with, right? Lou has a lot of familiarity with Adam Henrique, so
yeah.
that's certainly another option.
I don't know. He
But
doesn't really move the needle for me. I don't know.
no,
I don't see the reason. I don't see the reason to move assets for a guy like him. I don't know.
yeah, he's a little slow,
Yeah,
but he's a veteran player. Can't discount it that he's got 15 goals. So he'll certainly help the
yeah,
team, but the Islanders don't really need yet another center. That's why I would think the Rangers are the better fit there.
yeah, yeah.
Now,
Um,
I do I also do wonder about like a move, a surprise move of Lou getting someone that no one's really talked about because sometimes that he's also done that he'll acquire a guy that makes you go wow I didn't even know the Islanders were interested so many different avenues there. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes, but I think when you look at the way they played against Toronto, if Patrick Waugh could get them playing like that consistently and Sorokin finds his game, gets hot,
yep,
there's no reason why they can't catch one of these teams. And
yep,
that's why I think Lou Lamoriello making a move to give Waugh a boost is certainly in the cards here. Because
yeah,
again, Dermo, look at it. The Maple Leafs have holes. The Islanders trail them by 4 points. I mean, granted, that could be six if they beat Dallas tonight, but
yeah. Their goaltending
that's
sucks.
not a big yeah, that's not a big deficit. It's 4 points to make up against a team like the Maple Leafs, who are struggling. Certainly possible. And could you imagine the meltdown the Maple Leafs fans would have if the Islanders were to knock them out of a playoff spot positioning? That would
Yeah,
be that would be quite the story up in Toronto. So,
yeah. Well,
but yeah, I think
only I
you
listen.
can
I only
catch
got a
them.
couple more years. A couple more years of hating Toronto, and then I'll be over that. So you know.
It, yeah, yeah. It's always nice to beat them. When you
Oh
see
yeah.
Tavares, skating off the ice, all somber. Never it never gets old. But
Well,
no,
screenshot that.
again, seriously though, I think they could be had too. It's not just Philly. I think I see a lot of holes in Toronto's game. I mean, granted, they're looking at bolstering their lineup with a trade too. I mean, it seems like Tanev from Calgary's on their radar.
Yeah,
The Maple Leafs always seem to pull something off at the deadline, but um, I don't know if this is the year for Toronto to go all in though. I don't see it with them. I don't. I think they've taken a step back. I mean, clearly, look at years past. They've always been solidified as a top three
yeah,
team in the Atlantic. And now,
yeah.
they're kind of just hanging on to a wild card spot. Detroit
I'll,
is on their heels, so
I'll tell
yeah,
you what.
I don't know what's going
You
to happen.
know, I thought getting Bertuzzi and Domi would help, and like Reeves, and just add because what, the last
Yeah,
few years, that's what they needed. They needed that grit, and none of those guys performed well for them. None of them.
no,
Which
no,
backfired on them because that's getting Domi and Bertuzzi. That was like a nice like there's your second line.
yeah, yeah. They added some more. They added more physicality, like more grinding type players, because that's something
Yep.
they've been missing.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but again, no, I think, like I said, I think they could be had, especially if the Islanders get hot. And then you got to remember, Detroit is still on their bye week, so the Islanders can really close the gap with getting within 2 points of the Red Wings tomorrow if they take care of business. So
Yep.
it seems like where last week it seemed like maybe the wild card spot could be out of reach, and it's just focusing on the third spot in the Metro.
Yeah.
They could start to really close the gap on some of these teams here, and that's what you want.
Yep.
You don't want your you don't want your path to the playoffs to just be one option. You want to have a couple of different avenues to try to squeak in. So if they keep
Yes.
playing well, that's certainly going to be the case for them.
Yep. Yeah, like I told
Alexander's
you
saying
before, they just
he would jump off the roof to trade for Zegras. Zegras, he's
Mhm.
hurt, so I think that's going to kind of squash some of those rumors that were starting to percolate about the Ducks moving him.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't see it. I don't think Zegras is a Lou type of player. I mean, he's too.
No.
I don't
No.
have a problem with it, but he's. I guess you could say he's too much of a personality for Lou probably, and the style that he plays on the ice. That doesn't fly on Lou Lamoriello run teams. He doesn't want anybody to be an individual. Everyone they all play as a team, and I think
Yes.
Zegras plays too much of an individual game, so I don't see that being in the car. I mean, he's a great player. He's exciting to watch, and he's just a guy who can certainly score 60, 70 points, but I don't see that happening
Yeah.
with Trevor
No,
Zegras.
no, they already have that in Barzell. Like I don't think they need another guy like that. Barzell's already
Yeah.
a square and a round hole, for that team. So
Yep. This is
yeah.
Lou, haircuts, no Michigans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's
It-
not he's not far off.
no, he's not. He runs a very regimented ship, and think about it. I mean, players don't really have a problem with it, right? I mean, as long as the guy is really well respected, and I think I think it's the type of thing where they could appreciate someone being very dedicated, and some people will say it's outdated, his long hair and facial hair and all that stuff. But I get it. He's running a team. Like I said, he wants no individuals. He wants everybody to play for the logo on the front, not the name on the back. And
Yep.
I don't really have an issue with that. And that's why I don't think Zegras fits into the operation that he's running here.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think, listen, if they weren't winning, if Lou didn't have the track record that he did, then, listen, if Ryan Dermody was running the Islanders and came up with that rule, it probably wouldn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, but
No,
Lou,
no, yeah,
yeah, like,
yeah.
it's
He's
just like,
well, yeah,
yeah,
he's well.
I did listen. Obviously, Lou always did that, and that's a Yankee thing because Lou was, with the whole, the Yankees owned part of the Devils years ago. And so that's been around for a long time. But I think it was like a perfect storm with them as far as Barry coming in and Lou coming in, and we're going to change things up here. It's not going to be a free for all, you know. So, but yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
he was close. He was close with George Steinbrenner. They were pretty good friends.
yeah,
Look at you
yeah.
taking care of business.
So,
Um, no, but I think Lou's a guy that commands respect too, right? When you walk into a room and he's there, you automatically he draws
oh
attention,
yeah,
and you listen. And
yep,
this is a guy. I think we talked about it last week. If Lou Lamoriello is not the general manager of the Islanders, there's no Barry Trotz, there's no Patrick Waugh. None of these guys come to the organization under our snow. So
no, no,
he
I agree.
certainly commands respect. But, yeah, no. Again,
Well,
I go back.
and again, and I'm sorry, just to piggyback off that, and not just that, but obviously Malkin and Ledeck. It's funny, like Patty Waugh. I don't know if you pick up on this, but I've been noticing a lot lately that like they always refer to Malkin. I never hear John Ledecky, and whatever. But they always talk about Malkin with any of this stuff, this decision making that's going on with the Islanders.
Mhm.
You ever notice that?
Well, yeah, Scott Malkin, he's the money. He's the money guy. John Ledecky's more of like the
No,
guy
no, I
that's
get that.
yeah,
I get that, but you always see Ledecky. You always see
yeah.
Ledecky. You never Malkin. You see once in a while.
Nope. Yep. Yeah, no, that's how John Ledecky kind of handles the appearances and the rah 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 type of guy, and
Yeah,
Scott Malkin is basically the money guy. He's the one that funds okaying
yeah,
these moves and paying Patrick Waugh and doing all this stuff. So that's how it's kind of split up. But You know, ultimately, I think Ledecky's done kind of like a good job being out in front of things and talking to fans and doing the right thing in that regards. But at the end of the day, these guys they already made their money with the arena, and they're building what is it, the
Yeah.
hotel or whatever it is next to it.
Yep.
So I mean, while I think they certainly want to win, I don't think it's a case of where some people say oh if Lou Lamoriello is going to get fired if they don't make the playoffs. I don't think that's the case. I first off, I don't really think they know enough about hockey per se to make those decisions, and I think they trust Lou wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So even if the Islanders
Which
miss
is
the
fine. I'm
playoffs,
good with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they would let Lou go. I think Lou would step away on his own. I think they have too much respect for him to if they miss the playoffs. I think they have too much respect for him to fire him just because of
Yeah,
who he is.
but I think it's different as far as, and again, I'm not a big Charles Wang guy. I
Yeah,
just, I don't know. He rubbed me the wrong way with so many things. They never want him doing the lighthouse thing, and
yeah,
then he's not around anymore. Now they're making that a casino, and now there was just too much bullshit with him, and
yeah,
at least with Ledecky, and you're right, they do trust Lou a lot, and I understand that, but I think they have an understanding of what goes on. I don't think Charles Wan had any. I really don't. And you hear the
no,
stories with the committee, the Milbury stories that came
yep,
out, and
yep,
I heard a story he was talking about. Milbury was telling a story about trying to get Jason Allison on draft day. Now Jason Allison just had 90 something points that year, and it was
yeah. He was
Dave
good.
Scatcher
Yep.
and a few other guys, and Charles Wan's yeah, we can't trade Dave Scatcher because he goes to children's hospitals.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Thank
That's
you, Dave. I
wild.
appreciate everything you've done, but we'll find somebody else to go. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
We're running a hockey
yeah.
team.
Yeah,
Great,
that was
great.
wild. I remember.
Yeah, come
I remember.
on.
I remember hearing that. I certainly remember hearing that he was unorthodox. I mean, this is a guy that seriously questioned about why they can't have sumo wrestlers as goalies because they take up the whole net. I mean,
Yep.
he didn't know anything about hockey. But
No.
I have to say, if it weren't for him though, this team may not be on Long Island anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
he
No,
really
I
did do
understand
everything
that.
to keep him there.
But you
So,
know what? You're right. And I give
um,
him some credit for that, but you can't say that the NHL
yeah,
is going to be we're going to move a New York team out of New York. I just find that hard to believe.
yeah.
I'm sorry. This
That's
isn't
true. Yeah, New
Arizona.
York market.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but
Change
anyway,
gears here. Wicked is asking, do you think Ishikov will get a shot? He's been very, very good in the AHL level for a bit now.
we've been talking about
Yeah,
him. I like him.
we have.
You
I
see that
would
move
like
he did
to.
in the skills
I,
competition?
yeah, 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 yeah. He's got good moves. He's got good puck skills, stick handling. I mean, I think the only knock on him is that he's small. But I mean, why not give him a shot? I mean, why
I
not
mean,
see what he could do?
Brandon Point's small too. I mean, there's small guys in the
Yeah.
league. I don't know. He's fast.
You know,
It's not like he's not fast. You know.
what the problem is. I think they don't for instance, when Cizikas went out, you don't replace Cizikas with an offensive-minded guy like Ishikov. That's why
Yeah.
it was McLean, which I have no issue with.
Yes.
And they're so deep at center, even if God forbid Barzell got hurt, they wouldn't need to call him up because you just move. You just have some pieces that you could fill the hole with. That's
Yes.
why I don't think Ishikov's going to get a shot. You would need to see a rash of injuries at center for him to get called up. But I do want to see what he could bring, because I think he's a skilled player, and you have to see what you have in him, right? Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, if not for nothing, to see if he's a guy that could be moved. If he's not, if you don't think he can produce, so
Well, how
I
old
would
is he?
like to
He's
see him at the
24,
NHL
right?
level.
23, 24.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So you're gonna
Um,
have to figure it out soon. I told you. I think he's like a Palmieri replacement. That's what I think you'll end up seeing. You know.
Yeah, I mean they play different positions, but yeah, actually he said that he
I
could
don't think
probably play
you and
winger.
we talked about this. I don't think he's going to be a center in the NHL. You know.
Yeah, no, it's true. It could move him to wing. I mean, it's easier to go from center to wing.
Yeah.
at the NHL level. So yeah, I mean it's certainly an option. This thing, why not put him on the second line? Engvall isn't working. Scratch Martin or Clutter to accomplish this. Um, that's a good point too. Which actually, speaking of
Yeah.
Martin, talking about McLean, where his status is now that Zizekas is coming back, I wouldn't mind seeing Martin be scratched and move McLean to the wing and keep McLean in the lineup. Because I
And what
love
about
Matty Martz. I love everything he's done for the community, the team, but I don't I don't see it with him anymore as an everyday player. I mean, I don't know what your
what about
feelings are on him.
uh well I like Maddie in the playoffs, you know. I love that line.
Yeah, I mean,
I know that line's not
hey,
5 years ago, but you know, they still have some credibility, I think. And they this truly is the last run for that line,
yeah,
so
because they're both free. Yeah, they're both free agents at the end of the
yeah.
year.
But you forgot about Fashing. You're gonna keep McLean up, and what are you gonna do? What are you doing, Fashing? You know,
Yeah, it's true because he's out right now.
I like
Bashing, I thought,
Fashing, but he comes and goes with me. I don't know.
yeah, he was much better last year than he was this year. I mean, this year
Yeah,
I think he took a little bit of a step back. I still like the guy, but I think he needs to try to start replicating his game from last year because when he's been in the lineup,
yeah,
a couple games you see it, he's like, oh, he looks pretty good, and then he kind of regressed to the mean. So, but yeah, that's the problem with the Islanders. They have so many guys that are similar, like those grinder muckers, like Fashing, Martin, Clutterbuck, Pajot, all these guys, Gauthier, Wallstrom, they're all kind of like, the same middling bottom six players. So
yeah,
they need more skill in the lineup, and that's what Ishikov would bring. But again, I don't know where he fits right now in Lou's eyes. So
yeah,
Chris is saying cannot get attached to the nostalgia of the identity line. They're dumb and need an infusion of energy. Why are we so attached to our bottom three?
Well, it's not that we're attached to them. I mean, I think they still serve a good purpose. I mean, Clutterbuck and Zizekas still kill penalties, and I mean,
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, all right, who you put in that spot then? If we're not using those three, I mean, there's no one. Like I know I see um Gautier. I like Gautier, but like this is a guy that's 6'4", 220 pounds. He's got an incredible shot. He's fast, and he just
Yep.
cannot put it together. I just do not get it. And he's going to go down to Bridgeport. And he's going to have a point a game. And we're like, what's going on
Yeah.
here? You know?
Yeah.
So
You know what is? I think a lot of Islander fans want to see a new fourth line. Like I don't think I would say no one really has a problem with Cizikas there, but I think they'd rather
yeah,
see like a new age fourth line of like Fashing, Cizikas, Gauthier, something like that. Fashing, Cizikas, McLean. I think
yeah,
that's what people want to see: younger, faster players that still play that hard, grinding kind of game.
yeah,
And honestly, they'll probably going to get their wish next year. Again, are Martin and Clutterbuck going to be re-signed? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Clutterbuck, his body has been through hell and back with the way he's played
yeah,
over the years. I think he might hang him up at the end of the year.
yeah,
He's reached his 1,000th, his 1,000th game. Um, he's like I said, he's beat up. I don't. I mean, would Lou bring him back if he wanted to? I mean, Lou's loyal. I could see if Clutterbuck wanted to play again next year and he was okay being a 13th forward, maybe. But
yeah,
my feeling right now is that Martin and Clutterbuck do move on at the end of the year.
yeah,
That's just my gut
yeah,
right now.
yeah.
Because I
I
mean, look
agree
what he
with
did
that.
with Bailey. I mean, he faded Bailey out, right? So I could certainly see it happening with Clutterbuck and Martin too.
Yeah, that was weird though with the Bailey thing with because he just did the alumni stuff, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
like time flies, man. You know?
Yeah, you know what? I think that was the first time like he was back in an actual capacity of like being there with former teammates and being on TV. I think
I think
personally, I
he's
think his
okay with
feelings
it. I don't know. I think
now,
he's
yeah,
okay with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I don't.
now
I'm
I
not saying the summertime. I think he was definitely
Yeah.
upset during the summertime. Yeah, but I
Oh,
think he's come to
definitely.
terms with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I think him and Lambert, didn't really have a great relationship there at the end, and how Lambert,
yeah,
used him after he played in his, 1000th game. Uh, he basically was scratched for the majority of the season after that. So,
yeah,
again, I think he wasn't happy with how that turned out, but it's a business, and he was making $5 million. He wasn't the same player. They needed to clear cap, and Lou had to do what he had to do. So, while Lou is a very
yep,
loyal guy, he also does what's best for the team. So that's why I think a guy like Clutterbuck and Martin, um, if at the end of the year they don't have contracts, I don't think he's going to go out of his way to re-sign them.
yep, yep. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that. That's fair.
And I think
Yeah,
they signed Fashing to 2 years, right? So Fashing's got another year left on
yeah.
his
He's got
deal
another
next year.
year.
So,
Yeah, and so
yeah,
does
so
Gautier. Gautier's got another
yeah,
year.
he signed too. Yeah, yep. So he's
Yeah,
certainly in the mix, possibly again. But yeah, just in general, I think that fourth line, they were great for the longest time, but I think as the game continues to grow and get younger and faster, we need guys to play with more speed out there. I will say though, I'll give Clutterbuck some credit. He stayed healthy, which is weird for him.
yeah,
He
yeah.
stayed healthy, and he's played solid. He's chipped in a couple of goals. He still plays the penalty kill.
Yep.
Granted, our penalty kill is horrendous, not his fault, but he's still an integral part of that penalty kill group. I don't think he's actually been that bad.
Well, I think our penalty kill's been horrendous because Pulak and Pellick haven't been around for most of it. You got to take that
That's
in
true too.
consideration.
Yeah, they missed a lot of
You know,
time. Hmm.
and I love Romanov, but you have Romanov playing 20, 22 minutes a night. And then and I like, Noah's really come along, and I told you that, but Noah's playing penalty kill too. So it's like, you got to give these guys a break, you know. So,
Yeah,
but I'll tell you what, I don't know if you saw the stat. So since Watt took over, Barsi's been playing a lot more minutes,
yeah, a
like
lot more minutes.
like
Yep,
like 3 or 4 more minutes per game.
yep,
So he's definitely using his top guys more, which we need,
yeah, more.
like you said,
Yeah,
you have all these guys that play the same way. Well, these top guys have to play more, and we have to get scoring.
mhm. More trust. He has more
Yeah,
he has more trust in him. He's going to allow him to play more of his style of game. Although I will say, I mean, Lambert wasn't really playing any kind of system, so I think Barzell has been able to play his
yeah,
game the whole year. But I think he has a guy in Waugh that kind of really reaffirms that and gives him that trust that he
yes,
can go out there and feel, if he makes a mistake, he's not going to be stapled to the bench. Which,
yeah.
speaking of which, I was surprised that after Wallstrom took that dumb penalty where the Maple Leafs scored on, I was surprised that Watt put him back out there. I thought that was going to be the end of his night. Um, but
But
that would have happened if Lane Lambert was the coach. Wallstrom
oh
would not have saw the ice again after that.
no, no,
Absolutely not.
nope. He would have been going to the penalty box for 10-minute misconduct if anyone got something. It would have been like that.
Yeah,
He wasn't going anywhere. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, and I guess
Well,
that's
that
I
and
guess
that's
that's
and that's what's good about it. Like that's the coaching change. You're letting
yeah,
everybody know it's a clean slate. Let's move forward. But if it
yep,
keeps happening, then we're going to be right back in the same situation.
yeah. I don't know if anything's going to change with Wallstrom personally. Even if they give him more of a
Yeah,
shot, I think I've seen enough of him to know that he's
I
got a
agree.
great shot. I mean, he's not afraid to hit anybody, but that doesn't change the fact that other than that, he doesn't really do anything else. He's not a great playmaker. He's not,
Yeah,
he's not a guy that's always in the right spot at the right time defensively. I
yeah.
just don't see it.
It's funny. You watch these kids get drafted, right? And like, you have high hopes on certain guys, and it's funny how some guys just can't adjust. That were so good at one level, and then they go to the next level, and they just can't make it happen. Like
Hmm.
when the Islanders drafted Griffin Reinhart, they drafted him fourth overall, and we're like, all right, like we're getting Sam's younger brother. Like this is great, and he
Hmm.
was atrocious. And Adam Pellick was a third-round pick that year for the Islanders. So it's just funny how things,
Yeah.
work out. Pasternak was like a late first-round guy. Mike Richards, Corey Perry. I always seem to think that like these late first-round guys end up being better NHL players than the top 10 guys. Now that's
Sometimes,
not
yeah.
always the case, but you understand my point, though.
Yeah. Yep. I do.
So it's Wallstrom.
You know,
Wallstrom's a top 10 guy, and he just can't put it together.
yeah, like Alex Anderson, I'm not ready to give up on him. I mean, I get it. He's still young, but I mean, what else could you possibly waiting to see? I mean, he's gotten, he's been here for a while now. You've seen.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's another gear to his game. To be honest with
Yeah.
you. So, but again, Waugh and Lou said that they're going to give him more of a look, like we said at the beginning of the show. Whether or not that's to showcase through a trade, we don't know. We'll have to see there, but I don't think you're magically going to get something out of him that we haven't already seen. So that's just my take
Yeah.
on the whole.
I would say, it's funny. Like if you're right. He doesn't have a lot of anything. Like he's got a little of every. Like he's not fast. Like there's just certain
No.
aspects that he can make up for with his game that he's
Yeah.
just not there.
No.
Listen, you know what? Go trade him to Ottawa, and all right, yeah, you should be able to put up some points with what's his name, Setzel and Claude Giroux. All right, that's great,
Oh yeah.
but like, yeah, we don't have time for that right now. Like they need a guy that can put in 25, 30 goals.
Yeah, because I feel like right now Lee is just kind of like a placeholder on that line. I mean, he doesn't. I mean, with Horvat, and because Alex Ander's saying he should be on the top line. I don't know if I agree with that, but I will say too, I don't think Lee is the answer on that top line either. I mean, what does Anders Lee do at 5-on-5, Dermo? He doesn't.
Nothing.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't really. He doesn't really do much. I mean, I guess you could say he mucks in the corners and frees up space for Barzal and Horvat, but I still think they need a more of a dynamic third member of that line, and Wallstrom's not dynamic enough to me to fit that bill. But
No.
speaking of the top line,
I'll tell you
I
what.
wanted to kind of get to
I'll
this.
tell you what. The perfect guy for that line would be Gensel. I'm telling you.
Well, yeah, and that would be really nice. I would say there's probably about a less than 1% chance Pittsburgh would trade him within the division. But
yeah.
Now, Dermo, did you happen to see the post game presser with Waz's comment about the eagle and the duck?
No,
which a lot of
you
people
were
were
saying
talking
something about it
about.
before, but no, I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah, so when referencing Horvat sticking up for Barzell and fighting, I think it was Benoit in Toronto, he said that in life you can either be an eagle or a duck, and Horvat chose to be an eagle, essentially saying he's a leader, and that got a lot of mentions and people talking on social media to the point where honestly it's silly, but I think a quote like that can kind of be the rallying cry for this team the rest of the way. It kind of sends them on a little run here, and that's what hiring a new coach, a Patrick Waugh, can do. But he's right though. I mean, Bo Horvat is obviously he's not the captain. He was the captain in Vancouver. Lee's the captain, but he saw Barzell get hit. He didn't like it. He stepped in and fought, and that does a lot for the locker room to bring a team closer.
Well,
and
especially
I got to
guys
say that's awesome for that.
Yeah. Especially guys that don't fight. It's nice to see that from them. I agree. Yeah.
Again, it would be one thing to see like a guy like Martin or Mayfield to do, but the fact that Horvat did it, it really just goes to show how much these guys stick up for each other, and so I thought that was awesome to see, and a good a fun little quote by Waugh there, which again was interesting, but that's why listen, it's if once Lee leaves the team, if he does, I would say Horvat's probably the next captain of the team.
Yeah. Yep.
For sure.
Definitely.
I think he's a great leader, and he has all the intangibles of you wanting a leader. So I think that was great to see, and I think Barzell appreciates it, and I think the rest of his team members appreciated it too. So But it was, yeah, it
I
was just a
agree.
little funny. It was like I was like, "What am I saying right now? An eagle or a duck?" It was just it's fun to have a coach behind the bench and in press conferences after the game that actually has some personality rather than Lane Lambert after every game just watching his face and just basically no
Yeah.
emotion and saying, well, I thought we played a good game, right? It was the
I
same. It was
I
the
used
same
to.
thing with Lambert after every game.
Yep. I used to love watching Barry's post game stuff. I loved watching it because Barry would just like
Yeah,
I
Barry was
just
good too.
Barry's awesome. Barry's awesome. Yeah, but I
No,
agree. Like the personality
Barry
with
was
Patty,
great.
and it's Patty Waugh. Like it's so weird still. They go to him during the game or after the game, and I'm still scratching my head going, it's so weird that Patrick Waugh is the coach of the Islanders. Like, it's like
No, it
bizarro
is.
world. Like
Yeah.
I did not see that one coming. You know.
It's going now. The Islanders don't lead the league in hair gel per 60. That's okay with you.
Yeah, yeah, he's not
Yeah,
wrong. Yeah.
Lane Lambert certainly. He looked like I think it was Philk on our main show said a remark. Lane Lambert reminded me of the coach from the Ducks, the guy that coached the Hawks, the
Oh,
Ducks rivals in the Duck
Doctor.
movie.
Uh, what was his name? What
With
was
with
his
the with
name?
the with the slick back
Yeah,
back hair.
Iceland
Yeah,
coach. The Iceland coach.
yeah.
Danson or what was it? It'll
Yeah,
come to me.
I'm drawing a blank, but that's what Lambert reminded me of with his
Yes.
pounds of hair gel in his hair.
Yep.
But do you think Lane lands the job somewhere again?
Yeah, it's probably an assistant coach. I think he takes a break, and then my dad said this, and he was funny about it. He's like, Lane's probably on a one-way ticket to Nashville right now for something. So,
Yeah.
he'll probably be with Barry. He'll do something with Barry. You know.
I mean,
So
put
again,
it
I
this
like
way:
Lane.
if
You know, just didn't work out.
if Jack Capuano was able to get an assistant coach job after the Islanders, I would think Lane Lambert will be able to land at least an assistant coach
Yeah,
job.
I agree. I agree 100%. Yep.
But another news, since what were your thoughts on the Kings firing Todd McClellan last week?
That I did a double take at that because I was like, really? And then I looked at their record and I was like, all right, I guess. But I don't know. Like he's been there a few years now, but they I'm sorry, but Rob Blake should be fired because
Thank you, Jimmy.
Pierre Luc Dubois, he's
Dubois.
like Dubois, he's had an issue everywhere he's gone. Everywhere. And the guy's like 24. Like,
Yeah.
I only want to be traded here. I only want to go here. You go here. You don't
Yep.
like it there. Like, just like, dude. And now he's only got like 20 points this season.
Yeah,
So,
not that move. That move isn't looking good on Rob Blake. It's not looking good
no.
on Rob Blake at all because Velarde and Kapari have been pretty good for Winnipeg.
Yep. And
Dubois
I think they
hasn't.
got a first
And
round pick too, right?
yeah, and for the amount of money they're paying him too, he's not pulling his weight at all. But again, in this
No.
situation, even though it wasn't McClellan's fault, it's the coach is usually the first one to go, right? Because
Well,
like as they
yeah. I
say,
mean, it's
you
easy.
can't
Yeah.
trade 23 guys, so
No.
you make a
Nope.
coaching move, and like it's all on Rob Blake too. He went into the season with Cam Talbot and Dave Rittich as their goalies. I mean, that's just
Yep.
simply not good enough. And it seems like the clock struck midnight with Talbot because Talbot in the beginning of the year his save percentage was like 920, and he was playing really well. And now Cam Talbot is now playing like Cam Talbot. So again,
Yeah.
that's not Todd McClellan's fault though. But again, he had to fall on the sword, and we'll see if the Kings can kind of pick it up here because they've fallen into wild card contention where for a while it looked
Do
like they were
they,
going to be second in the Pacific.
what, would you try? I don't know if this is even possible because like it's probably like Islander Rangers, Kings and Ducks. Like, do you try and get like John Gibson? I don't even know. I don't even know their cap situation.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you bring a good point. I don't think Anaheim would trade Gibson to LA.
Yeah.
I think I mean, I think it's a summer move. I know you heard of Gibson's name out there, but the
Yeah.
Devils would have a lot of interest. But I don't know. I think the Ducks hold on to him. It's very rare you see like a number one goalie like that traded at the deadline. So I'd be surprised. But no, you're certainly right. LA needs to do something in goal. I
Yeah.
mean, Jake Allen doesn't really move the needle.
That's no different than
Um,
Cam Talbot to me.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, Elvis Merzlikins. I mean, he makes too much money. Columbus got a bunch of years left. I don't.
Nah,
So yeah, I
maybe
think
maybe like the kid in Boston. Starts with an S.
Swayman.
Yeah. Yeah. In the off season. Well, they have two goalies.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. Okay.
you know.
Yeah, maybe in the off season, I think Boston may decide to
Well, they're gonna have to.
finally make a
They're gonna have a
choice.
lot of cap space. So
Yeah,
yeah.
between Allmark and Swayman. Yeah, but
Yes.
no, it's
Yeah.
I think LA just fortunately has to live with their goalie situation right now because I don't know if there's anyone out there realistic that could trade for. But um,
Yeah.
you know, uh, back to the Islanders. I think that again, I mentioned before, it's hard for a coach to come in and kind of like change things overnight. I think the All Star break, the bye week, gave Watt a lot of time to, really
Yep.
study his team, watch more film,
Yep.
become more comfortable. I think in the next week or so, you're going to start to see, hopefully, see this team really, really take off. The game against Toronto was certainly encouraging.
Well, it's a good
And
building
again,
block.
they
Yeah.
yeah, and they have a couple of games here. I mean, Tampa Bay is a team that they need to beat. Calgary, that's a struggling team that's going to start to sell off. That's another game they
Yep.
should win, and these are home games too. So
Yeah.
for the Islanders to kind of crawl back up into a playoff spot, I think that these games they have to win. So
Yeah.
um, hopefully, like I said, they start to really become who they want to be under Patrick Watt. Um,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you this: I think no one will want to play the Islanders if, let's say, they got into like the last playoff spot and Sorokin caught fire. I don't think any team would want to play them in that situation.
100%.
Uh,
100%.
yeah,
Yep.
but
Listen, the Islanders.
got a
You know
couple of
what?
minutes here. No,
No,
go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say that when they played at Carolina, they lost 2 games in overtime last year in that playoff series. Things could go a
Yes, they
different
did.
way. I know it didn't happen, but I'm
Yes.
just saying it's a what if. So and that could
Yeah.
happen again. You know.
Yeah. And honestly, what I think changed that series was, I think it was game one or game two. It was the game where like the Islanders took the lead, kind of like lateish in the game. I think it was a Nelson goal, and then Sorokin allowed that kind of like short side goal from Slavin, and they ended up going on to lose the
Yes.
game. Uh,
Yes.
I think if they win that game, the series may have turned out differently. And
Yeah.
that's what the playoffs are about,
Yeah.
though. It's one moment that happens that can change the course of a series. And yes, I guess
Yeah. Yeah.
Marc is doing some admin here from behind the scenes, saying it was game two. Uh, you know, so yeah, I think you're right. There was a closer series than it appeared. And again, they say you just have to get in. You just get in and
Yeah.
see what happens. So that's why
Yep.
I think it's imperative that Lou maybe makes a deal here earlier rather than waiting. Because again, I think you can catch Philly. I think Detroit can be had. I think even Toronto can be had. So,
Yeah.
if they can go out and make a move ahead of time, then I think that suits them more well.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Got a couple of minutes here to wrap up. About 5 to the hour. What are your thoughts on these next couple of games here and how they shake out? Like, your what's your prediction here for Tampa Bay, Calgary, and then Seattle?
I think the only game that they're going to have an issue with is tomorrow night. I think Calgary they should be able to beat. I think Seattle they should be able to beat. Tampa's not what they were. I mean, you're kind of starting to see the holes in
Yep.
their offense now. And I get it. Kucherov's got 80 points. But they are not what they were, and Vasilevsky hasn't been good at all. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was a good building block coming back from the break. They played Toronto. They beat Toronto again. You know, You got to start building off of it now. Like I told you before we got on the air, like, Philly, and don't worry about all these other teams. You got to worry about winning these games right now. Let's just stay on the path and stay focused, and that's it. And before you know it, they'll be climbing up, hopefully. And this team has gone on a run already this season.
Yep.
Because they lost what was it, 12 games in a row between overtime laws. They've gone on a run. They can do it again. So you got to start.
Yeah, I think they were. What were they, 9? They went after they finished that 0-4-3 stretch. I think they were 9. I think they went on 9-1-2 in the following their 12-13 games. So yeah.
Yep.
Before we go, I will. Do you think these next 3 games before we head into the Stadium Series games, Tampa, Calgary, Seattle, do you think they can go 3-0 heading into the Stadium Series? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. I think so. And now here's a little bit of a hot take for you. I know you love him. So after that game against Seattle on the 13th, they have 5 days off for the Stadium Series game on the 18th. I think if things go well these next 3 games, I think Lou makes his move for the Stadium Series game heading into the outdoor game against the Rangers.
You're a very optimistic person.
A hot take prediction. Yeah. Feeling good, get a couple of wins.
Who are we getting? Give me who is it?
Oh, now you're putting me. Who are we getting?
We got 3 minutes. Who are we getting?
My fellow Italian, Frank Vetrano.
Okay, all right, I'm good with that. I like it.
No, but honestly, I mean, you get what they have 4 days off before the Stadium Series games. If they go 2-1 or even 3-0, why not strike to really build more excitement heading into the Stadium Series game? And 4 days off is also a decent amount of time to acquire somebody, let them get into the practice and get assimilated, rather than trade for a guy, flies, has to jump into the lineup the next day, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's my.
I just don't want any guys. I don't want any guys doing a press conference in Canada saying that they don't want to leave and that they love Edmonton and blah blah blah. So I don't need any more of that. Yeah. All right.
Crying Ryan, as they call them.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the cup home to you. Yeah, all right. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. All right. Well, then we'll let you get back. Let you get back at it. It was great doing this again. Thank you for all our viewers, all the comments. We appreciate that. And make sure to tune in to the game tomorrow as the Islanders take on the Lightning. And we'll see you all next week.
Thanks, guys.